saddle up.
Saddle up. We got a Henry Cavill amount of topics tonight.
We got
abs.
We don't have a 6-pack tonight. We've got a Snyder pack.
The extended cut.
It is the ultimate director's cut. And this movie dropped last Thursday?
Last Thursday, I think.
Thursday. And Zack Snyder's The Justice League. And so we're going to break this down. It's going to be extensive. We're going to get into a lot of the details. We're really going to break this down. Like you said, we gave probably a longer review of Cherry than we should have, but I think that given everything that's surrounding this particular movie, I think that this amount of coverage is necessary.
I agree. And I think, I'm just going to say this out there, there's another website that did a new thing, and I won't name that website, and I won't name what they're doing, but they're kind of like what we're doing, and I don't like it, and I feel like they're ripping us off. And I'll mention to you when we're not recording, because I don't want any haters out there, because this is a website that I normally respect and own, but it's a little too weird for my liking. And this is the review you want to hear, not from that other.
Does it rhyme with The Springer?
It does.
Fair enough.
It does. And I respect the hell out of them, but that was weird. I was listening to another podcast from today when I was on my run, and I like screamed out in my run, like, you're ripping us off.
Right.
Hire us. But
nobody's talking about this movie.
Nobody is. But it was the theme of our podcast in general, though. That's actually the thing. Yeah, that's what bugged me.
Nobody's talking about this. This is I hear it might do well at Sundance. This new indie.
It'll definitely do well at Sundance.
Yeah. So, but we do have a full 6-pack outside of the Snyder Cut. We're going to talk about the challenge as usual. We're going to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Any other week, Falcon and Winter Soldier is probably the number one topic. But because of this week,
it will be.
Yeah, because of this week being the Snyder Cut, we got some other things in there. Some PlayStation news, some food news. Did you get those peeps, by the way?
I did not get the peeps yet.
Okay, we'll do that next week. Next week we're gonna.
I figured this week was too girthy of an episode for us to do that. So
well, that's what I was going to tell you if you did save them. Next week.
Next week. Peep review.
Peep, marshmallow peep, not like
peep show.
Not creepy things, peep.
It's gonna be a peep show.
And we have next week's
peep show
title already. We have next week's episode title, so that's good. All right, number one is Zack Snyder's The Justice League. So we have this broken down, and so here's the thing: is we have people who listen to this show every week, and they're like, well, I don't understand what the Snyder Cut is, and I feel like we've summed it up pretty well up until this point. But just in case people don't know exactly what the Snyder Cut is, or exactly how we arrived at Zack Snyder's The Justice League, I do think that it is important to maybe give a little bit of a synopsis into how we went from the abomination that was the 2017 theatrical release of The Justice League to Zack Snyder's The Justice League, the Snyder Cut, whatever you want to call it, here last week. So, as many people know, Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, and was contracted by Warner Media to direct The Justice League. During the filming of the movie, or post-production, or I'm not sure exactly when.
I think it was post-production.
Yeah, his daughter unfortunately committed suicide, and he felt he tried to continue to work on the movie, and it's worth noting that his wife is a producer on the film as well. So she also had a vested interest in it. He felt he tried, he gave it the old college try, but at some point he felt like he couldn't do it anymore, and he had to step away. And this was when Marvel, obviously 2017, 2016 was really at the height of ramping up towards Infinity War. There was Captain America Civil War, Guardians movies, Black Panther, all that stuff. So Marvel's really at the height of, its popularity. It's still crazy popular, but at this time it was like mega popular. For Ragnarok coming out around this time as well. So Warner felt like the best move was to bring in Joss Whedon, who directed Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, to finish the Justice League. And they wanted to inject some of that Marvel pomp and circumstance into it. And so the result was that we got two different movies kind of cut into one movie. And you had some of the very Snyder film style, cinematography style, things like that. But then you also had bright colors and campy humor and things like that Joss Whedon interjected during the reshoots. They did extensive reshoots with Joss Whedon, which we've talked at length about the allegations of his abusive behavior on the reshoots by Ray Fisher, and we'll probably circle around to that in a moment. The movie came out, it bombed. It was panned critically. It didn't do well commercially. I think it made I'm ballparking here, but like 650 million
right
worldwide at the box office, and that was with 300 million budget or about thereabouts, not including marketing. So it probably barely profited when you account for everything. And it was just pretty universally hated. I mean, everybody pretty much universally hates the 2017 theatrical Justice League.
Justice League, 229 million
Profit.
domestic profit.
Domestic.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's the lowest grossing of all the DCU movies. This is a weird.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. So it ended up making 547 million. Batman versus Superman made 873 million as comparison. And then Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Man of Steel in the middle there. At the top.
I don't want to get into it, but I'm surprised that Suicide Squad made more, but that's neither here nor there. Because I think both movies
That's Joker. That's like Joker porn, though. That's
he's
why
not
people
really
get in
it much, though.
Right? No, he isn't, but nobody knew that at the time. So
neither here nor there.
Bam.
Neither
Oh,
here.
yeah,
nor
right.
there. Yeah. They're both turd sandwiches. Either way. So I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but the movement online through online communities got kicked up. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. People wanted to see what Zack's true vision for this movie was. And then it really picked up steam when I think it was definitely Ray Fisher, but also Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa retweeted and Instagrammed and all that stuff, released the Snyder Cut. Once they kind of threw their weight behind it, I think Gal Gadot as well. Once they really threw their weight behind it, that's when it picked up steam. So he did some reshoots, and he re-edited it. And we're going to get into some of the changes between the original and the Snyder Cut, what's different about it. And, the difference is, I think it's pretty palpable. I've seen some people say it's the same thing. It's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing at all.
Not when you have a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long versus a movie that's 4 hours long. It's just not the same thing. There's added scenes and longer scenes and things like that. So the next question, and it comes from Richard C. He writes in and asks, why should people care about the Justice League at all? They seem like great value Avengers. Wonder Woman is cool, but everyone else is just kind of okay.
Batman's cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
Batman. You and I both agree that Batman's cool, and both you and I agree Ben Affleck as Batman is cool.
Yeah,
and we've said that. And I really like the Flash. This is just something that I've liked my entire life because I like someone that's fast, because that actually is something that proves in the comic books and the movies, is actually valuable. The things he can kind of do as being the Flash. So I've always found that cool. Never been a big fan of Aquaman and whatever with Cyborg. But I mean, how many of the Avengers are actually cool? At the end of the day, when you break it down, the Avengers are cool as a group, but you're really either a Cap guy, an Iron Man guy, or a Thor guy at the end of the day. I feel like really. And Black Panther, what they did, and Spider-Man's involved too, but Spider-Man's a separate comic book and he kind of comes in and out with the Avengers. But when you actually think of the Avengers and you think there's not that many, not all the characters are that cool. The movies, the MCU made these movies and made these characters cooler than they actually were. If you were an actual comic book nerd,
hit or miss.
The hit or miss. Justice League was cool as a kid. I mean, the reason why I like comic books was because of Superman. As a little kid, I used to run around with my pajamas on, and they were Superman pajamas, and I had a red cape during the day that wasn't my pajamas. And then, you realize the Superman, like you say, he's Superman. Yeah. And, and he can't really be defeated. And there's different things where he dies, like it happens here. And then you kind of, I think everyone kind of starts out as a Superman fan. Then you kind of evolve to like Batman, who his superpower, as they say in the movie, he's rich, which I love that line. I think that's honestly Marvel, DC, top 5 line, any movie. What is your superpower anyway? I'm rich. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome line. And I think that's why you should care. I think if you're a comic book person, you should care because like this is still canon history and like these characters do matter. I mean, this is why I care. I always wanted these movies to be good.
This is not canon.
This isn't canon, but I mean
Snyder's yeah.
But I mean Snyder the idea of the idea of Justice League is canon is what I mean. And like you should care to that degree.
Yeah, I mean, you can draw similarities. I mean, there's obviously similarities between Batman and Iron Man, right? They're both, scarred, traumatized in many ways. They're both rich. They're both really smart. There's similarities between Superman and Captain America, not the power levels, obviously, because Superman's completely overpowered and Captain America is just a dude on a lot of special steroids. But their ideals are the same. Right. They're both kind of Boy Scouts sort of thing. And they kind of, I think why Cap works so well in the MCU is because they acknowledge that and they kind of poke fun at it a little bit. Right. And I think the reason a lot of people don't like Henry Cavill's Superman or Zack Snyder's take on Superman is because he is a little bit darker. He is a little bit grittier. And people have always wanted that. And then when they got it, they found out they don't want it. Right. Right. Everybody
thinks of the Superman from the 70s and stuff like that. But if you read the comic books, like the 70s, 80s, and 90s Superman comic books, that is some dark stuff, especially the 80s, 90s. Superman is very dark. I mean, it gets weird. The death of Superman comic book is gnarly.
Doomsday and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So, I think that surface level, the DC characters are a little bit more generic than the Marvel characters, but I think it's all in the presentation for a lot of these things. And, like Thor's not cool for 4 movies. He's lame. He's lame in Thor. He's lame in Dark World. He's lame in the first 2 Avengers movies. And then they found the right director to bring out the way to make him cool with Thor Ragnarok. Yep. Do you know what I mean? So it's all in the presentation of these characters.
It is. And I think at the end of the day, most people, if you take all the characters just in these movies, and I'm not going to include Spider-Man because Spider-Man's its own thing. And they brought him in. He's in and out of the Avengers. Batman is the most recognizable character out of everyone. Yeah. Right? I mean, I think that's why there's so many movies of Batman. Right.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's when it kind of how it goes back to. It's all about presentation. Because everybody loves Batman. Go watch Ben Affleck or George Clooney's Batman. You might be changing your tune a little bit. Right. But it's all about presentation. All right, let's get to the actual movie.
Let's do it
itself. We'll do the plot, the plot summary here. Do you want to read that?
Sure. Superman is dead, killed in the battle with Doomsday. Earth's protector in the last Kryptonian demise has awoken the Mother Box's ancient technology that, when synchronized, form the Unity. And reform the world they are on to resemble the world of their master, Darkseid. Sensing the evil is Darkseid.
It's just spelled weird.
Yeah. It is. I'm Ron Burgundy. We know. I know what it is, and I'm just reading it. Sensing that evil is on its way with Earth on guard in the wake of a Man of Steel's death, Bruce Wayne sets out to form a team. Before he can assemble a league, the Boxers call out to Darkseid's world conqueror Steppenwolf, which I love that as a name, by the way. And he arrives on Earth with his army of parademons, having collected the first 2 Mother Boxes from the Amazons and the Atlanteans. Steppenwolf has but one remaining, after a clash under Gotham City between the newly formed Justice League and Steppenwolf, Cyborg reveals he is in possession of the box, and it saved his life after a would-be fatal car accident, but also turned him into the Cyborg. Knowing the League is outgunned, outmanned, and outplanned, Batman forms a plot to revive Superman with the final Mother Box, despite knowing that waking it will call Steppenwolf. After Clark, memory incomplete at best, is reborn, he cuts through the League like a hot knife through butter, and Steppenwolf wrests the final Mother Box. The League, sans Superman, attacks Steppenwolf's base in Russia, and just as things seem hopelessly lost, Superman arrives on the scene to help stop the boxes from synchronized, but not before the Flash must run at the speed of light to turn back time. Steppenwolf was sent back to his master through a portal, but not before Wonder Woman cuts his head clean off, which I love that scene.
Yeah. So what did you think of the actual movie before we get into some of this other stuff?
Okay.
Because last week you said, I think this might be the first fully negative review that I give.
I did. And part 1 and part 2, I was ready to say chapter 1, I was just, we watched it like a mini series.
Right.
Because there's no other way to do it. I mean, to sit through I don't care. I mean, I don't care what the movie is. If you're sitting through it for 4 hours straight, you just can't do it. And the way my schedule is. First 2 ones, I was like, this is going to be a bad review. Didn't really like it that much. A lot of setup with not a lot of like anything actually happening. And then, we're getting through it. The third act is whatever. It's when they bring Superman back, the movie completely flips. In the Justice League, the original one, when Superman comes back, it actually just kind of stays the same and isn't any better. Nothing actually happens. And you're just, stuff happens, but it's almost too, like it was a long movie, but it was still too quick, if that makes sense to people who have seen both. This movie actually like had stuff happening and you kind of had like an emotional connection to it. Like I was fully engrossed in that, second half of the movie. Once he comes back and once he kind of relates and he understands his role and he's wearing the black Superman costume, which I think is a nice touch, just chef's kiss. It was, I ended up liking the movie way more than I thought I would. It ended up going from like, don't waste your time with those first 2 things. You just got to get through it. I mean, you really do. It is, it's a 4-hour long movie. And of course there's going to be times, but once Superman comes back, it slaps. Like, I think it's really, really good after he comes back. You just got to get to Superman coming back.
I disagree with you a little bit on that.
Okay.
I think that I actually liked it pretty much throughout. I felt like, so let me qualify this. I hated 2017.
Right. I did too.
I don't even think I finished it. Towards the end, there was the fight, the final fight scene. And after Cyborg said "booyah," I was like, fuck this, I'm out. And I just turned it off. Because it was so bad. And,
yeah, it was bad.
We'll get into some of the differences between the 2 versions, but the hard thing is like the first one was really rushed. And which is crazy for a movie that's, over 2 hours long to be rushed. And I guess you can take your time when you have 4 hours to do, but the reality of it is that there's a reason why we don't get movies that are 4 hours long. You know what I mean? Sure. Imagine, like, even at times Endgame felt rushed. You know what I mean? And that movie was 3 hours long. And so it's kind of maybe a little bit unfair to be able to say that because things were paced better and they were able to include scenes that I know were cut due to length and stuff like that, but those scenes added context for specific characters. Look, we all know who Superman is. We all know who Wonder Woman is. We all know who Batman is. But the scenes with the Flash, with Cyborg and Aquaman really gave those characters a context, especially Cyborg. I thought Cyborg was 100% lame in the original. In this one, I don't think this movie works without him.
Oh, 100.
In the center of everything.
It's a Cyborg movie, actually.
He's almost the main character. Like, no joke. I mean, it's all about how, like, Batman is bringing this team together. But really the movie's about this tragedy that happens with this kid who had the whole world in front of him, and he's made into this machine, cyborg, literally. He's made into this monster, or at least he views himself as a monster. And it's kind of how he comes to terms with what he is and how they're not able to do this without him. You know what I mean? So we've given Ray Fisher a lot of shit on this podcast for his constant complaining and not really giving any context or like saying what any of the actual abuses were, or speaking in vague terms. But my hat's off to him, man. I mean, he put in a hell of a performance in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie does not work without him. And what's really interesting to me is I thought the one character who was like easily the most dispensable was Aquaman. And he's somebody who gets his own movie, and it's Jason Momoa, and everybody loves Jason Momoa. And he's like this cool guy. And his character was just like kind of a waste of time. Like this all could have gone on without him. Like
Sure.
if they wanted to cut something, it could have been him, and it wouldn't have been a problem.
That's how I've always felt about Aquaman, just in general, though.
Yeah, I mean they want it, and again, this is sort of the Snyderification of the character. Aquaman in the comics is, Arthur Curry is this very Aryan looking guy, blonde hair, blue eyes, he's fit, whatever. He's the son of Atlantis in the surface world, and handsome and blah, blah, blah. And in this movie, he's just kind of a drunk, and I kind of like that take on the character. It gave it a different feel, but
he was supposed to be like the Thor of this movie.
Yeah. And it just didn't work. Like that's the
didn't
thing
work.
that didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
But that's sort of, I almost feel like Diane is the Thor, because they refer to in DC Comics the Trinity as being Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and the Trinity in the Avengers is Cap, Iron Man, and Thor. So I almost feel like she's more.
She is more in the technical, but I think in the movie they try to make him kind of like, because he's the funny and like the hair and stuff like that. But
I guess and
she is.
Looking.
Yeah, he's good looking. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Gal Gadot, though, I could look at
she's...
that. I could watch her read a phone book for 4 hours, not have to stop.
Right.
I'll tell you that right now.
Straight.
Holy crap, she's a smoke show. Anyhow.
So yeah, I mean, especially with like a lot of the different changes that were made, it just really made the movie a lot better.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I think it is actually a good movie. I actually just want to say, I think it is actually a good movie. I didn't mind it was 4 hours long. I'm glad it was on HBO Max so I could stop and watch it.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with the fact that I had to stop and watch it because whatever. It's just a long movie and I have a job. I have 2 jobs. So I have to take time to watch it. I would love to have been able to sit there for 4 hours and watch it, but there's basketball on and there's other things. I think it's no worse than a middle round MCU movie.
Yeah, I would put it like if this movie were in the MCU, I would put it at the bottom of the top third.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly what I was going to say.
The
that's
top
literally
of the
what
second, third.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, which is high praise because a lot of these movies are garbage.
Yeah. Mike H writes in and asks, what exactly was actually different from the Snyder Cut from the theatrical version? So I went to IGN. They had a list. If you want to see this list kind of spelled out for you in the written language, it's over there, but I'll read through some of these. Number 1, it was rated R, which I thought was completely unnecessary. There's more violence. The fight scenes are extended. There's more CGI blood and stronger language. And if you ever wanted to hear Batman tell the Joker, I will fucking kill you, this is the movie for you. Additionally, a lot of the cheeseball comedies, such as Batman asking Arthur Curry if he can talk to fish and Cyborg saying booyah, are gone, although a lot of the Barry Allen Flash goofiness is intact, but that serves that character pretty well.
I really like that, honestly. I'm thinking about being the Flash for Halloween.
Yeah, sure. He's goofy. I mean, that's his. Yeah. He's the comic relief. He's almost like the Hawkeye, I guess. Yeah. I will say the Joker saying who else would give you a reach around to Batman was very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
To me. There were added scenes There was a few reshots, which was pretty much the nightmare dream sequence at the end of the movie that included the Joker and Deathstroke. There were some scenes that were cut from the original version that were put back in. The Flash saving the girl in the car wreck. Willem Dafoe as Volko, appealing to Arthur Curry. I think in the 17 version that was actually Mira had that conversation. The ending battle is different. It's longer. It instead of having the like the reddish sky, it's actually just a night sky, which I thought looked a lot better. And then the Russian family, who felt like Joss Whedon felt as they needed to show potential collateral damage, so they put this Russian family randomly living in the most toxic place on Earth. Didn't make any sense. They cut that out. They also gave us Cyborg's proper origin story, and we see more of him and his father, Silas Stone, which I thought all that stuff was great. Scenes involving Darkseid. In the original, there was no Darkseid outside of mentions and the mural that Diana sees in the tomb or whatever that was. In the Snyder Cut, we get a Lord of the Rings style recap of the war between Darkseid and the army of the Age of Heroes, which included Zeus and Ares, a Green Lantern, some other Amazons, Atlanteans, etc. And the original, that was Steppenwolf. We get more Darkseid through the premonition sequences and at the end in which he is prepared to leap through the portal before Flash turns back time. Additionally, Desaad, who is one of Darkseid's cronies, shows up fairly often in the Snyder Cut, and he was not in the original at all. Let's see here. Steppenwolf had a completely different design. They changed him to make him less scary in the Whedon version. That was at the direct request of Warner Media. He's given a new design and some backstory. The character who was made to seem like an advanced war party in the original is painted more as a slave to Darkseid in the Snyder Cut due to questionable decisions in his past. Black suit Superman. He wears a black suit with the silver S throughout, and his trademark blue and red are nowhere to be found. One of the big changes, Martian Manhunter, General Swanwick, who is in both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, has been revealed to be the shape-shifting Martian Manhunter and introduces himself to Bruce Wayne, which is now the actual end of the film. There's no end credits. He's also portrays Martha Kent in the conversation that Martha has with Lois, which happens much earlier in the Snyder Cut versus the original. The music's change. Joss Whedon had Danny Elfman score his version, and Thomas Hulkenberg scored the Snyder Cut. There's song differences throughout, and some of the sampling tracks, such as Icky Thump, are gone from the movie. There's probably a few other minor things. But that's sort of it. We've already talked about the characters a little bit. Bob Sacamano writes in and asks, should DC, I guess this is a should they have mimicked the Marvel playbook and do 3 movies about each character as a run-up, then 3 movies for Justice League once they're all tied together? Why would or wouldn't that work?
I say no, it doesn't work, because if you're actually like, the Marvel thing was just so perfectly done, and you have the perfect mesh of people doing that. And I think that's the thing. Like, DC doesn't necessarily have that perfect mesh of things. And I don't know if people want to watch 3 Batman movies again after we just saw 3 Batman movies that were widely considered the 3 best Batman movies. Right. I mean, so I don't know if that's what makes people go to the theaters. And like, even though you and I like Ben Affleck as Batman, we still think Christian Bale's Batman movies are better Batman movies. Superman is just not going to cut it. I don't think people are that. Superman is Superman. Henry Cavill is awesome. He lifts weights. He looks great. Wonder Woman, different thing. I like Wonder Woman, the first one. Wonder Woman 84 is kind of whatever. I love the banter with her and Chris Pine in the second one. I think that movie should have just been like a rom-com and just been them doing that. I think Gal Gadot is like put herself in a new like kind of position here, I think, with the way that she has been able to take control of these movies. But I don't think it works in the sense that I don't think people care enough about the characters individually. If, even though I might, or you might, or, comic book nerds do. There isn't the thing with the Avengers where they kind of that wasn't supposed to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that was just, it happened to work. They happened to get the right people in the mix. And it really, I mean, that first Iron Man movie, they were just kind of throwing crap on a board and seeing what stuck. I mean, and the movie's really good and everything, but it's just one of those things like nobody knew when that first Iron Man came out that they would have Endgame. That's
Right.
the thing. Nobody knew that was going to happen. So it's hard to say, like, should we just copy Marvel? Marvel had no idea that they were going to get this. Nobody knew.
The reason I don't think this works, it's kind of like, what's that picture of like the dragon eating its own tail? I think that's kind of what this is a little bit. I'd have to look that up. It'll be in the clarifications for next week. Here's why it doesn't work. Well, here's why they should have done that. Because you get Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash introduced in Batman v Superman verse with these like little weird vignettes. And like the problem, like the Aquaman one was like shockingly comically bad, where it's just like his eyes and then he creeps out with the trident.
Yes.
Like that was so corny. And
So
that
weird.
was like, in that moment, I was like, why aren't these guys getting their own movie? And like beforehand. And so that was part of that, like, why it should have happened. Here's why it wouldn't work is because, like you said, they didn't know what they had. Number one, Marvel. Number two, there's no one in the MCU in the early stages where if you're like, Iron Man's on screen, where's Thor? Or Thor's on screen, where's Cap? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
If you've got Aquaman before all this, Batman lurks over all of this because, and I know you say Spider-Man and everything like that. Batman's the most popular comic book character in comics. Him and Spider-Man, 1A, 1B, right? He looms over everything. And so, when the Justice or the Suicide Squad came out, it was like, oh, Batman's going to have a couple cameos in this. Bruce Wayne's Batman's going to have a couple cameos in this. Why wasn't there? This was a question. We didn't even know that we were going to get all this. Man of Steel happens. Why aren't we getting Batman at the end of it in an end credit scene? That was a question that was being asked in Man of Steel without even knowing that there was going to be Justice League or even Batman v Superman. So the problem with doing those is that Batman looms over everything. Batman's in Wonder Woman.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The first
it's when they see the bat signal and Barry's like, hey, there's like everyone knows, like they're even kind of poking fun of this. Like they're almost like poking fun of the fact that like, this is you. This thing in the sky is looking over all of us right now. That's kind of the thing.
It was
as big as Iron Man is in the Marvel universe and as big as Spider-Man, there's not a sign in the sky that says, come and do this.
Yeah.
If anything, they're rooting against the Avengers in those movies. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them are like, hey, we don't actually want you to do this. There's the Civil War. There's, there's all this stuff that like, oh, we actually don't want your help, Avengers.
Yeah. And they paced things poorly and it should have been different. They should have probably introduced everybody with at least one solo movie.
There's the Flash show.
Yeah, but that's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same. Right.
That's the Arrowverse.
Right. I'm just saying for people that like want to know the Flash or whatever, there is stuff.
Well, I think this is more of a question of why can't you introduce those characters? Why aren't we getting a proper Barry Allen origin story? Why aren't we getting a proper Arthur Curry origin story? Why aren't we getting a proper Cyborg?
I mean, if you look at this, I mean, you go back on this with the Avengers, it's like now we're getting, the Scarlet Witch. Now we're getting, in the Black Panther, I think kind of changed everything. Ant-Man was good. I'm not going to.
And Guardians.
Black Panther.
Sure.
And Guardians. But Guardians was like, that was a crapshoot. Nobody knew anything about that. And that just happened to work for whatever. It's a good movie. I'm just saying for whatever reason, everyone just trusted them. It's because of the first Avengers movie. If that movie wasn't awesome, which it is, one of the best, it's not my favorite Marvel movie, but I would argue it might be the best Marvel movie just because it made this work.
Yeah.
In the sense, it's great. And they go and eat, it's so funny. Like it's funny, but it's actually dramatic. You actually care so much about it, even though most people that saw that movie probably had never read a comic book a day in their life.
Right. Yeah, I think too, comparing Avengers to Justice League, even though it seems like it should be apples to apples, is really apples to oranges.
Yeah.
Because Marvel is doing they're making things issue to issue comic book, right? That's how they're making their content. It's issue to issue comic book. It's bright, catchy colors. It's witty humor. It's big explosions. It's that sort of thing. DC, more specifically Zack Snyder, is making things in the graphic novel sense.
Yes.
This isn't, Justice League or Superman. This is Frank Miller's Dark Knight.
I was going to Killing Joke. I was going to say something like the Killing Joke. This is crazy.
This is, this is Superman Doomsday. This is Tower of Babel. This is what he's making.
Yeah.
And it's just tonally different. They're two different things. I mean, he puts Zack Snyder should have his own Instagram filter. It's just like, let's put a little Snyder on it, where everything just goes a little bit grimmer. Everything goes a little bit more dark. Everything.
If it happens, we can sue whoever makes this, because there should be.
But that's the thing. It's is it superheroes? Yes. Is it? But I think whereas at the heart of the MCU is action figures running into each other.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more, or they're trying. The problem is it takes a 4-hour movie to do it. They're trying to add a little bit more depth to some of these characters. Cyborg has more depth than any character in the MCU. And I know that
100%.
The people are going to say bullshit on that. But I think this movie shows what that's like. I mean, that's my opinion. Yep. If you don't like it.
The only other character I would even argue is Scarlet Witch.
Sure, but think about
which we got, but it took a whole season of television shows.
It took a whole season of television of something weird and something strange and something that didn't have all that other stuff that Marvel always has.
Right.
And so that's the thing. It's like, as much as it seems like it should be apples to apples, it's really apples to oranges.
It is, yeah.
JJ Kish, my man JJK. He writes in and he says, do you think the epilogue was just a flex on how great the Snyderverse could or should have been? Or do you think we could still get more? I'm going to answer that with a quote from Warner Media CEO Ian Sarnoff, released the following to Variety. I appreciate that they love Zach's work, and we are thankful for his many contributions to DC. We're just so happy that he could bring his cut of the Justice League to life, because that wasn't in the plan until about a year ago. With that comes the completion of his trilogy. We're very happy we've done this, but we're very excited about the plans we have for all the multi-dimensional DC characters that are being developed right now. Let me tell you why Ian's full of shit. Money talks.
Cash money.
Cash money.
Wu-Tang.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes, my friend. Rotten Tomatoes has Zack Snyder's Justice League at fan-rated, certified, 96% fresh.
Yep.
Boom. It might take a while. It might take a while. It might take a long time. But in the end, these movies are going to get made. The next, I think,
and they should.
I think he's trying to throw everybody off the scent, because I don't know if you've seen like all these like, well, if I did Justice League 2, this is what it was going to be, and it was just complete insanity. And then he says, if I did Justice League 3, Superman's son's going to be Batman and all this, and just even more insanity. And so I do think that maybe he said, like, I don't think Warner has the stomach for me to do another Justice League and this and that. But the fans made this happen.
Yep. This was literally fan demanded.
Here's the other thing is fanandom. You say it.
Demanded.
There you go. This isn't the only example of that. The other being that Sony was going to pull the plug on Spider-Man being in the MCU until everyone freaked out.
Yeah.
And then magically, a deal gets done for two reasons. Number one, the fan demanded it. Number two, everybody gets rich.
Yep. We all make money.
I'm not
Except for you and
saying
me.
that. I'm not saying facts. Patreon.com. No, we don't have a Patreon.
We should though.
OnlyFans.
I'll do that. What?
This is. Here's the thing: is that I don't. Do I think that Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 would do Avengers Endgame numbers? No, I don't. But I think that they would do Black Panther numbers.
Yep.
I think that they would do, Captain Marvel numbers. Captain Marvel made over $1 billion.
It's going to be good too. I guarantee you, it will be good.
If you let him make his movie.
If you let him just sit back and ride the Snyder, that's all I'm saying. Just ride it out. I'm not trying to be weird. I'm saying ride it out.
Say that?
I don't know. Ride the Snyder. Hashtag ride the Snyder. That's going to be our thing. Ride the Snyder.
I have a different hashtag. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
I think that deep down in my heart, and I know Zach has said too that he doesn't want to do any superhero movies for a while. I think that he gets another crack at Justice League. I just
he
do.
Should. Yeah.
I don't think it might take 5 years. It might take 10 years, but I think he's going to get another crack at it.
Yep.
And I think
it'll happen. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Here's the other thing is that this has kind of restored my faith in Zack Snyder as a director. I've always kind of liked his stuff. And the thing about Zack Snyder is you either like him or you don't like him. There's really no middle ground. There's really not. You can't be like, well, I thought 300 was okay, but Watchmen sucked. No, there's no.
No, you like it or you don't.
You either like it or don't. I saw this stat. 10% of this movie, and I forget how many seconds it is, 10% of this movie was in slow motion.
Sounds about right.
10% of the entire movie was in slow motion because that's what Zack Snyder does. 300's in slow motion. Watchmen's in slow motion. That's what Zack does. That's his style of film.
I would have said it was more with all the Flash stuff, but yeah.
Why did the Flash run like a figure skater skates? That bothered me. He looked a little like a fairy.
I think it's to make him look faster. Yeah, that's the thing I didn't really understand. But like when you run fast, just run.
Yeah,
like
Usain Bolt doesn't run like he's skating.
He also is 6'7" and like a freak. But
how do we know Barry Allen's not 6'7"?
Barry Allen is probably 5'6", but I like him though in this movie. And Ezra Miller, questionable person going forward. I don't want us to get canceled. I guess there's things about him out there on the interwebs. Yeah, whatever it is. He's really good at this character. He's really good in every movie I've seen him in, by the way. He owns it. I love when he's just chowing down on pizza and but whatever.
His Flash movie may be the last DCEU extended universe.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck is scheduled to appear.
Yep.
So, and I think, I can't remember, I think they're doing Flashpoint Paradox or something like that, but there's going to be a Wonder Woman 3.
But there's going to be that's already in the production. And there should be. Those movies, here's the thing is the first one's really good. The second one's fine. It's whatever. But Gal Gadot is great. And I'm not saying this just because I think she's great looking. I'm not just which she is.
No doubt.
But she's really good as Wonder Woman. Like there's that thing where she's is Wonder Woman. She is that character. She was born to be that character. And we get to appreciate her in that form. And I'm more power to it. And we're gonna get more of this Snyder, like you said, it could be years down the road, but we will get more of it and it'll be good. It'll be really good. I don't know what other things they have in store. I know we have, different Batmans down the road, different whatever, but Snyder stuff, let it be. Ride the Snyder.
So we've spent, the better part of 45 minutes talking about this. So pass or watch.
Yeah.
That's not a yes or no question.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I heard Pat. Watch. 100% watch.
Yeah.
100%
watch it in parts. That's all I watch.
Watch it in parts. But you're good. If you care at all about comic books, you're gonna like it. And if you don't, the action's good.
You may
watch
still
it.
like it. That's the thing.
You may still like it.
I probably wouldn't recommend this to anybody who's not at least moderately a comic book science fiction.
I'll give you this. Henry Cavill fights without a shirt on for about 10 minutes in the movie. There you go, ladies, and anyone, because I liked it. Fine. He's a handsome fellow. Weightlifting goals.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is, you know, they say people are chiseled out of granite. Henry Cavill is chiseled out of vibranium.
Yeah,
he's unreal. Like how?
Yeah, when I moved to Alaska, I couldn't run as much, so I was doing just workouts. I did Chris Evans workout. I did different super, and then I tried doing Henry Cavill's workout. Nope.
I do Fat Thor's
too
workout.
Hard. Too hard, too difficult, because Henry Cavill is a beast. And it's just like Chris Evans. Look at Chris Evans.
Yeah.
And then you have Henry Cavill, who is just like
bigger.
Bigger. He's someone bigger than Chris Evans. It's insane. So Godspeed. Watch Henry Cavill. Great looking man.
I do Fat Thor's workout.
Nice.
I just eat pizza and play video games.
Do you drink a lot of just beer though?
No, that's the one thing.
I don't think you're not a big beer guy. Yeah.
I don't do that just because I drink a lot of this stuff.
LaCroix.
Right here. Get some.
Booyah. That is healthy.
The unofficial sponsor. So yeah, like I said, I think it's definitely a watch if you have any interest in, you know, comic book, science fiction, action, blah blah blah, any of that stuff. If you tune in, if you're more like, you know what, I'd rather spend this weekend watching 10 things I hate about you or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, this probably is not for you.
Although I like both those movies.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.